For thousands of years, we've been under the impression the Bible was meant to be taken seriously. Finally, a new translation that will change all that. This is Oh My God, What the Fuck Bible.
Reach out, touch faith.
Welcome to Season 4, Episode 2 of Oh My God, What the Fuck Bible with me, David Tuchman. I'm coming to you from my secret lair. Each week on the show, a guest joins me to read a whole bunch of chapters from my own personal translation of the Hebrew Bible while I make fun of it. In this episode, which was remotely recorded, so sorry about the issues, my guest and I discuss various booze-related traditions, what to do with a cheating woman, and all the ways my translation could be better. Enjoy! Welcome to the show, the rabbi at Hinenu, the Baltimore Justice Stiebel, and host of the podcast Kaddish, Ariana Katz. Welcome to the show, Ariana. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be on the show. I've been listening for many different books.
Well, I'm very excited to have you. I'm excited to read some Torah with you today. I just have some questions that I wanted to ask you before we start.
Yeah.
So I ask all my guests about their Jewish background. I wanted to know, what is your background in Judaism? How were you raised?
Yeah, I was raised in the conservative movement. I was a day school kid in suburban Philadelphia and went to a pretty big conservative synagogue, like pretty high churchy, like same foot. The rabbi and the chazan had to step onto the bima to get the Torah with the same foot at the same moment. So like pretty,
I don't know about that.
I don't know. It just like a really sweet and really particular kind of congregation that was very formal with a lot of stained glass, and that my family loved a lot. I always found myself being the kid standing in services, sort of like dancing. Like a little inappropriate for a Saturday morning at our shul, but that was sort of me, and a house that did a lot of like just ruachite, joyful, spirited celebrations of holidays. So some like pretty formal moments, and then also a lot of like Shabbat parades, which are running around the house with a pot and a spoon before it's time to sit down for Erev Shabbos dinner.
Did you have a lot of text-based learning growing up, or was it just feels like it's very spiritual, ritual-based background that you have? But this is a podcast about text. Did you feel like you had a lot of background in text?
Yeah,
in your childhood?
Definitely. I think that that Parsha HaShavua and other text study was a huge part of my weekend, and then
the weekly portion.
Yeah, the weekly portion. And I think also, the characters from Torah have sort of started to hold court in my mind. And I know that started from an early age. But, when you need, like, advice on how to get someone good, you say, like, hey, Sarah, how did you, like, totally screw Hagar over? Which isn't her best trait. Right? Or you think about, like, how to be brave or speak your mind, and you call on Joseph. So I think text study from an early age also helped me just have these characters in my head as archetypes.
So is there a character or an archetype or a story that you're most drawn to?
I think in recent years, the character of Sarah, who is the daughter of Asher, who's mentioned twice in Torah, and basically the Midrash puts layers and layers of meaning on her to help explain how she can be mentioned before everyone goes down into Egypt. So she's kind of this like memory holder crone who travels around with the Jewish people for a really long time.
That's really interesting. I don't really know that much about her. What does the Midrash say about her?
Okay, well, now you're getting me started. This is the problem when you have rabbis on the show. Yeah. They talk and talk and talk. So
exactly.
So there's a lot of different Midrashim, but basically when you weave them together into one story, when Joseph's brothers come back from Mitzrayim, from Egypt, and they realize they need to tell Jacob that Joseph is still alive, they have to figure out what to do. Like, how are we going to tell our father that we actually faked the death of his beloved son, Joseph? And they're afraid that they're going to tell him and he's going to have a stroke. Which is how Aviva Zornberg translated it. What did she say? She says his soul will depart or he'll have a stroke.
Right.
And so they say, I know. And they send Sarah, who's Asher's daughter, so Jacob's granddaughter, and Jacob is standing in the field and he's davening. And they send Sarah and they say, go, go. And she brings a musical instrument and she basically sings the song to Jacob while he's davening, so that by the time his tefillah is done, by the time he's done praying, and by the time her song is done, he's realized that Joseph is in fact still alive. He has a mini stroke, but he comes back and he's okay, and he realizes the truth, and he blesses Sarah with a long life and long memory. So much so that she gets down into Egypt, and when it's time to actually leave Egypt, after all that slavery nonsense happens, and it's time to leave, and Moses says, "Oh, Joseph made us promise we'd take his bones out of Egypt." He says, "I have no idea how to do that." He goes to find old lady Sarah. Get them out.
That is amazing, and I can't wait to
It goes on from there, but
I love that it kind of proves that Andrew Lloyd Webber Music Hall right. There actually is a song in the part of the story.
Yeah, so that's sort of the most important midrash in my life, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Yeah, that's the real takeaway. That's the echo here.
Yeah, I guess you could count that as a midrash too. So tell me a little bit about Kaddish. This is a podcast that's about death and mourning. What has drawn you to those kinds of rituals?
Yeah. Kaddish explored. And I've been drawn to thinking about death and mourning through my learning at rabbi school and through my experiences of burying people I love and supporting my community as they go through the same. I think as a younger person, it's sort of like weird and sexy to talk about death. When we talk about it in the abstract, but then in reality, I think people of all ages experience death and mourning, and so I come at it not as this otherized, sort of fetishized, let's talk about the morbidity of it, but to rather say that people of all ages are thinking about death and mourning, and especially those of us who stand at the intersections of many identities, we need to find platforms to think about it. So that's the goal of Kaddish.
Well, you've created a very beautiful thing from your experiences. Thank you for making it. I wanted to ask you, so you've talked about a little bit about your background. What is your Jewish observance like? Yeah. Oh man, so stressful. What's my Jewish observance like? So it's also sort of skewed because I've been in a 5-year rabbi school program at the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College in Wyncote, Pennsylvania. So my practice looks like a huge amount of study and discussion and chavruta and writing of sermons and of just doing coursework for school. And then and it's fun and sweet when they overlap, so I can study something and then come and teach it to my community in Baltimore. And my Shabbos practice is ever evolving. I think it's something where it's a day set apart for me and my beloveds and my family. I'm exploring what it means to not do creative labor when that can also be really nourishing. So mostly I have my Shabbos book that it's taken me months to read because I'll read a little bit and fall asleep. And then next week I'll pick it up and I'll read a bit and fall asleep. And generally it's summer now, so you have a little bit more time.
That's right, a little bit more light. And generally I just love studying, love making weird witchy ritual, love going to mikvah for Rosh Chodesh.
What's a justice steeple?
Ugh, right? So the first half of the colon makes sense. That's the name of our shul Hinenu, named by the congregation to think about rootedness and place. Here we are. Great. A justice steeple sort of evokes a couple of different cultural norms. So a congregation rooted in the work of justice, very specifically committed to justice work happening in Baltimore, within the Jewish world, but also really broadly, and on an interfaith level and a coalitional level. And then shtibel is a really old word. It's a Yiddish word that means little room. And shtiblach are more familiar in Orthodox communities. So if you walk around certain suburbs in Baltimore or certain suburbs or places, I don't really know about New York. Sorry, everybody. Some places in New York.
There are a ton of them in New York.
Right. You can't walk down. Exactly. You'll trip over them. So And for us, Stiebel encourages us to be space specific. So God willing, one day we'll have enough support to have a physical space that is cozy and that is warm. And more than anything is a Hamish, low ego, casual environment. And that's the hope, because people drawn to this community are doing a lot of organizing in the rest of their lives and deserve a place to land and to celebrate and mourn and be energized. And so that's really at the core of what Hinin is about.
That's very nice. Just a quick question. Do you believe in God?
Yeah, big time.
Okay, cool. So are you ready to read the Bible?
Oh, big time.
All right, let's do it. This is Torah, a loose translation, Book 4, In the Desert, Episode 2, Head Count, Chapter 9, in which God assigns some work, numbers 421 to 427.
Count all the boys aged 30 to 50 in Gershon who can work in the tent, Yehovah said to Moshe. I am assigning the Gershon family to carry the sanctuary's curtains, the tent of witnessing, its covers, the dolphin skin that covers its top, the door of the tent of witnessing, the hangings of the courtyard, the screen door for the gate to the courtyard that's around the sanctuary and the altar, their cords, all the tools of their work, everything else they need for stuff. Gershon's sons worked for Aharon and his sons and did whatever they asked.
So Gershon is basically the head of the TARP department. Very great job.
Like Leslie Knope, right?
Yeah. TARPs and recreation.
And that's the work the Gershon family did in the tent of witnessing for Etzamar, the son of Aharon the Kohen.
That's chapter 9. Chapter 10, in which God continues to mete out jobs. Numbers 429 to 437.
See how many of Merari's sons are between 30 and 50 and can work in the tent, Yehovah said to whatever. They'll be in charge of the board, the sanctuary, its bar, its pillars, its sockets, the pillars of the courtyard all around their sockets, their pins, their cords, and all the tools they need. Etzamar, the son of Aharon the Kohen, will be their boss. Moshe, Aharon...
Exciting.
Moshe, Aharon, and the presidents of the phalanx counted 2,750 sons of Kehat who could work in the tent of witnessing.
That's a lot of people assigned to sockets and pillars.
Yeah, and a phalanx, nonetheless. This is the work of the families of Kehat who worked in the tent of witnessing, counted by Moshe and Aharon, by Yehovah's lips in Moshe's hands.
Ew. That's chapter 10. Chapter 11, in which we finally wrap up all of the work assignments. Numbers 438 to 449.
Gershon had 2,630 men who could work.
Well, good for Gershon.
That's how many people could work in the tent of witnessing from Gershon's family, Aharon and Moshe, counted by Yehovah's lips. Merari had 3,200. Yep, that's how many Moshe and Aharon counted in the Merari families by Yehovah's lips to Moshe's hands. There were
like kissing the ring, but kissing the hands.
There were 8,580 Levies. They counted every man doing the work Yehovah told them to do by Yehovah's lips in Moshe's hands.
That's chapter 11. Chapter 12, in which God kicks anyone with venereal diseases the hell out. Numbers 5:1 to 5:4.
Command the sons of Yisrael, Yehovah said to Moshe, to send anyone with a rash, leaky genitals, or who got yucky from a yucky body outside of camp. Boys and girls, you can't make the camp yucky. I'm going to live there. And that's what the sons of Yisrael did.
Yucky camps.
That's what the sons of Yisrael did. They sent them out of the camps. The sons of Yisrael did what Yehovah told Moshe.
That's chapter 12.
A question I have for you, because I've been listening to OMGWTFBIBLE for quite a while now, is...
Yes.
What's up with Yehovah? I have so many questions about your translation choices.
Yes. So what I have chosen to do is to represent it as the character that it is in the text, as opposed to translating it as Lord God, because I feel like it's doing a disservice to the text if we're always translating Elohim, every different word for God, into one thing. And the vowels just come from what I've seen in Chumashim when it's laid out. Those are the vowels that are used.
So this is your understanding of how you would pronounce Yud, Hey, Vav, and Hey.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, as a listener of your podcast, and I imagine others, no one's gotten zapped yet for trying to pronounce
Not
it. So,
yet.
So hopefully,
Haven't gone blind yet.
Hopefully, your guess is wrong.
There was a Facebook comment once, very early on an article about this podcast, and somebody said that I should check out what happens to those who mock God. And so far, I've been okay.
I do threaten people I love with karet, which is being cut off in the world to come. So, there you go.
All right, chapter 13, in which God gets very specific about atonement, Numbers 5:5 to 5:10.
Tell the sons of Yisrael, Yehovah said to Moshe, that if a man or woman makes one of those strange mistakes you human make, or violates Yehovah, and they are guilty, when they confess, they will return whatever they took, plus an additional fifth, and give it to whoever they hurt. If there's no one to give it to Yehovah and the Kohen, right next to the Ram of Atonement. The one that's used to atone.
Of course.
The Kohen gets to keep all the tributes the sons of Yisrael bring. He gets every man's holy stuff. When a man gives it to the Kohen, it will be his.
So I wonder if the Kohen intentionally misinterprets things just so that people screw up and he gets free stuff, because that's what I would do. That's chapter 13.
Like sacrifices falling off the back of a truck?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's a mistake sacrifice. Don't worry about it. Chapter 14, in which we find out what you do with a two-timing wife. Numbers 5:11 to 5:31. Fun stuff.
Okay, here we go. Everything's fine. It's the Torah. Tell the sons of Yisrael, Yehovah said to Moshe, that if a man's woman disobeys him, a man fucks her, he comes inside of her. I hate you for having me read this.
We can cut it out if you want.
No. It's really funny. Tell the sons of Yisrael, Yehovah said to Moshe, that if a man's woman disobeys him, a man fucks her, he comes inside of her, and they hide it from her man, keeping it a secret, and there are no witnesses. This is what happens if the man gets overcome with jealousy, regardless of whether they actually fucked or not.
What? Okay, so here are some fun notes about this, because I read some commentaries and they say some crazy things. So the word that's used is that she cheated with an ish, or a man, and that's chosen specifically to indicate that it was not with a little boy or with an animal. So good job, rabbis. The other thing is that they hide it from her man, meaning that if he's blind, it doesn't count. There's also that they hide it from him, meaning that if he knows about it and looks away, then it's also okay, because it wasn't hidden from him. He knew about it.
Oh, score. I also looked at commentary because this is a ridiculous parsha. Okay. I will consult my notes later because, damn, It's ridiculous. Okay.
We'll come back to it. All
right. So if the man will bring his woman to the Kohen along with a sacrifice for her, 1/10 an ephah of barley flour. You won't put frankincense. You won't put frankincense or oil on it. It is a meal offering of jealousy, a remembrance offering, but to remember bad stuff.
I like how, if it's a jealousy offering, keep that frankincense away. No oil near my jealousy offering.
The Kohen will bring her close. She'll stand in front of Yehovah. The Kohen will take holy water in an earthen bowl and mix some ashes from the floor of the sanctuary into it.
Ugh.
The Kohen will have the woman stand in front of Yehovah, loosen her hair, and put the meal offering, the jealousy one, in her hands. The horrible bitter curse water will be in the Kohen's hand. So one of the ways I get through reading this, both in the Torah and in the also equally disgusting and porny rabbinic commentary, is that this is an entire ritual that has the power to not actually hurt any women ever.
Yes.
Right? And so it's kind of lovely that this woman is sitting there. They've already humiliated her by uncovering her hair, and it's semi-public because everyone knows about it. It's a really violent thing. But the way I get through it is picturing her standing there. There's this big old bowl of kind of muddy water, and she's like, "Okay, jerks, it's not going to do anything." But all these men are like, "Ooh, look out! It's the scary mud water." And she's like, "Okay, I'm very afraid." It feels like this a secret nod to ladies throughout time and history that religion invented by men can actually not, isn't as scary as we think.
It's all fake.
I mean, the violence is real, but the idea of the magic not working is a pretty delightful thing.
Yes, it is.
The Kohen will tell her that if she swears she didn't fuck the guy and she didn't abscond into yuckiness, she'll be clean from the bitter curse water. But if she went astray and got all yucky, and a man who was not her proper owner entered her with his fucking, cool, the Kohen will make her Swear the oath of the curse and tell her that Yehovah has put a curse and an oath in the nation, that Yehovah will make her vagina fall apart and her womb explode, and the cursed water will go into her and make her womb explode and her vagina fall apart. Amen. Amen, the woman will say. Amen.
Amen.
So this is the language there is that her, what is it, her
like thigh?
Right, her thigh
belly?
Her thigh and her belly will descend. And it's used for people of all genders in Torah. So here we just have to sort of assume what it's referring to.
Yes, we know what thigh means when the Torah talks about it.
Even though this is like a disgustingly clear description of what's happening, we'll like refer to her thigh. You know, like that's where we demur. The Kohen will write these curses in a scroll and blot it out in the bitter water. Then the woman will drink the bitter curse water, and it will be disgusting. Mm-hmm. The Kohen will take the jealousy meal offering from the woman and wave it before Yehovah, sacrificing it on the altar. He'll take a handful of it as memory.
A bad memory.
And smoke it up on the altar after the woman drinks the water. The woman will drink the water. If she got yucky and ran astray from her man, the bitter curse water will go inside her and explode her womb and make her vagina fall out. The woman will be cursed within her nation.
So there's an interesting thing that happens on the internet with like really strident atheists where they read this passage as a forced abortion, which really infuriates me because it's clearly not. Like it's clearly a magical torture that completely destroys a woman's reproductive organs, which is a very different thing from an abortion. And it makes me upset.
And also,
like
that's not how abortion works.
No, you don't take magic water.
There is a thing from Talmud, from Sota 47b, that says that if the woman's partner who's accusing her of having committed adultery himself that this test doesn't work on her.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so
I love that.
yeah, so if the jealous husband committed adultery in the past, the waters could not harm his wife.
That's awesome. That's just another one of the ways that the woman just like, yeah, whatever, I'll drink it.
Yeah, that's right. Because I know what you did. So you talk a big talk. If she did not get yucky and is pure, she will be clean, and also she'll get pregnant.
Which makes this definitely not abortion.
This is the law of the jealousy of when a woman goes astray from her man and gets yucky, or when a man is overtaken by a jealous spirit and is jealous of his woman. The woman will stand in front of Yehovah, and the Kohen will do all this stuff to her. The man will be clean from iniquity, and the woman will carry iniquity.
Man, couples therapy used to be so different. Now they make the man drink the ashes. That's chapter 14. Do you want to take a pause and talk about this?
I want to talk about this Torah forever. Yeah. So this is rough. It's really hard to love Torah when we know that this is in it, and yet this is combined with some of the other stuff that we really love. I think what's interesting to me is the public reading of it, right? That like in shuls across the world, we are reading this out loud, and there are certain parts of our tradition that Chazal, that our teachers have said, don't say these things out loud. This didn't make the list, right? Yeah. Like this we just read out loud. And so that's an interesting question to me of like, do we in our communities now, when we find text abhorrent, what do we do with it? Do we chant it like nothing's wrong? Do we call it out? Yeah.
I like the finding of like a more subversive reading of this, though. That's very interesting because that makes it a little bit more palatable to listen to out loud, as opposed to something like Leviticus 18:20, where it's just like, well, I don't like that. It definitely makes it somewhat empowering within the context of this very misogynistic society.
I also am curious, now that I have the Hacham on the line, I get to ask you all my questions. So your use of yucky for tum'ah. So
yes.
Tahor and tameh, pure and impure, is like that interpretation, that translation gives meaning on it too.
Yes. I feel like it's troubling to me that it's like holiness and impurity, because to me it feels like it makes a little bit more sense if it's just things that like icked people out and like they had a problem with, as opposed to like this more like a more real ritualistic thing. Like it makes a little bit more sense to me if it's just like, well, you can't come in because you're leaking stuff. We don't like that. You touched a dead body, that's gross, as opposed to like you've removed yourself from another level. It's more like just laws of general cleanliness and bathing than like women being consigned to being impure a certain time of the month, as opposed to just like, well, we don't have baths, so we have to clean up.
Yeah, I guess what it highlights for me is that every translation is its own midrash, is its own own set of opinions. Because from where I sit, thinking explicitly about nidah, about family purity, and about what we say about bodies who menstruate, being ritually impure feels a lot less terrible than saying it's yucky.
Really? Okay.
Because and this, from people who their family observes nidah and like go to mikveh after menstruating, that there's nothing wrong with a body that has any sort of discharge. It's just about whether or not you're ritually prepared to enter into holy time and space. And it's like problematic because we live in a world that says that bodies are disgusting and we're filthy people for having bodies forever. But I guess, the reason that I like a translation of tahor and tameh as ritually ready and ritually unready is that it sort of starts to chip away at some of our purity baggage, because it actually, God doesn't care whether or not our hands are dirty. I don't think God cares about whether or not we're menstruating either. But that it's actually just about like how prepared are you for the next moment.
I like that idea of it being prepared versus unprepared. Like that is something to me that doesn't have the power as a word like impure or pure has. Does that make sense? Like it's the idea of purity still, like it makes certain bodies like predisposed to being impure, as opposed to like you're ready or you're not.
And I've
never heard that before.
Said much more beautifully and with a lot more background footnoting. That teaching really comes from Tamar Kamiankowski, Dr. Tamar Kamiankowski.
Thank you. Okay, I'll look at that. The other intention of yucky was like more to represent not necessarily what God wants, but like what the people who were writing it may have been thinking. So it's a little bit of a judgment on them.
Yeah, so you're recentering the author. You're reminding us every time we hear this translation that your drash is that humans wrote this.
Exactly. Some men wrote this about what they were thinking.
Right. And I mean, like coming back to the actual text that we just read, the way that sota is treated in the later rabbinic imagination is just such a moment of pornography and of saying like, let's talk about this really gross thing so we can talk about this thing that kind of turns in a really terrible way. And
no, I mean, so for the audience, sorry, sota is a reference to this woman or this water. And I remember in high school, like every boy wanted to read Masechet Sota, the Talmudic tractate about this stuff, because it was really exciting. You got to talk about it.
Yeah,
it's very Foucault. It's very like what's it called? Oh no. Driving to discourse in a sense.
Nice.
Like it's a way to talk about sex. That's not the word he uses, but it's French, so it doesn't matter. But it's a way to talk about sex and procreation, like in a confined, like kind of morally correct way, I suppose.
Right, and like what the hell is it doing in the context of the rest of this parsha?
That's a very good question. Well, let's keep going. This is chapter 15, in which God explains the rules of the Nazir, a weird aesthetic figure that's never fully explained. Numbers 6:1 to 6:21.
It's about to get really straight edge up in here.
Oh, yeah.
Tell the sons of Yisrael, Yehovah said to Moshe, that if anyone vows the vow of the Nazir to separate...
So, fun fact before we go forward, the word Nazir, when I type it in Microsoft Word, autocorrects to Nazi, so proofing this was really fun.
Anti-Semitic little paperclip.
Yeah.
To separate themselves to Yehovah of their own free will, they can't drink wine or any other mind-altering substances, wine vinegar or vinegar made from any other drink, or anything that's had grapes steeped in it. He can't even eat fresh or dried grapes. He can't eat anything from a grapevine, from skin to seed, throughout his entire abstinence.
I think the hardest part is letting go of raisins.
I love a raisin bagel.
I know.
Controversial opinions.
Oh, no.
Did you just lose all your listeners?
I think so.
Sorry, everybody.
He just deleted every episode.
Also, he can't cut his hair at all. All of the hair of his head will be holy to Yehovah until his special time is up.
Oh my God, this inspired so many arguments between rebellious teenage boys and authoritarian high school principals.
Shout out to my little brother, the longest of hair. He also shouldn't go near a dead body.
That, not as many arguments between rebellious young boys.
He can't even get yucky for his father, mother, brother, or sister if they die because he separated himself to Elohim on his head. He is holy to Yehovah the whole time he's doing this. If someone suddenly dies on him and gets his special little head yucky, he'll shave his head on the 7th day when it becomes clean. On the 8th day, he'll bring 2 turtle doves or 2 sons of doves to the Kohen to the door of the tent of witnessing. The Kohen will use one for a sin offering and one for an olah to atone for him for touching a dead guy. He'll make his head holy that day and dedicate his days of abstinence to Yehovah. He'll bring a 1-year-old lamb as a guilt offering, and the first days won't count because his abstinence got yucky. These are the rules of what a Nazir does when his time is up. He'll be brought to the entrance to the tent of witnessing. He'll slaughter his sacrifice to Yehovah, a pure 1-year-old lamb, 1 for an olah, and 1 pure 1-year-old ewe lamb as a sin offering, and a pure ram as the peace offering. A basket of matzah and a basket of loaves mixed up with oil and matzah wafers, with oil spread, and their meal offerings and their pouring offerings.
Sorry, I'm just laughing. If he screwed up any one of these, he had to, start over and do more sacrifice.
The Kohen will bring them before Yehovah and make the sin offering and the olah. He'll make the ram as a peace offering for Yehovah on the basket of matzah, and the Kohen will make the meal offering and the pouring offering. In the entrance to the tent of witnessing, the Nazir will shave his own head and take his special hair and throw it on the fire under the peace offering.
Ugh, smells so bad.
Do we make a Britney Spears joke here, or is that old?
Yes, go for it. I feel like I like the idea that in 2018 we finally understand what Britney Spears was going through.
She was suffering.
She saw the future. Yeah.
She saw the future. That's the only joke I had to say.
Do you think that Britney was finishing her Nazir period? Is that what was going on?
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out the next joke. I'm wondering if it's Nazir, bitch, but I don't think that works. I don't know. I'm going to workshop it. I might need a full year. Next time we read this, I'll have the joke. Check back in. The Kohen will take the ram's shoulder after it's been boiled and a loaf of matzah from the basket and a matzah wafer and put it on the hand of the Nazir after he shaved off his special hair.
God, this just makes me think of whenever I get a haircut and how covered in hair crumbs I am, and it's all over the food now, and I do not like this.
Talk to me about hair crumbs sometime. Wow. That was a lot. The Kohen will do a waving of them before Yehovah. It is holy to the Kohen on the breast of waving and the thigh of the tribute. After, the Nazir will drink wine.
Nice. His tolerance will be so low.
These are the rules of the Nazir who vows to sacrifice to Yehovah on his abstinence for what he is able to afford based on the vow he vowed. That's what he'll do on the Nazir rules.
That's chapter 15. So one thing that I did read, actually, is that the juxtaposition of these two passages are pretty interesting, that there's it's something that's all about abstinence next to a woman possibly walking out on her man.
Totally.
So,
and also the bearing of hair. So the Women's Torah commentary was all about the accused woman has her hair bared as a way of humiliating her, but then we're obsessed with the hair of the Nazir because it's a sign of piety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, chapter 16, in which the priests are given their script, numbers 622 to 627.
Tell Aharon and his sons, Yehovah said to Moshe, to bless the sons of Yisrael in this exact way. Yehovah will bless and keep you. Yehovah will shine his face on you nicely. Yehovah will put his face on you. Yehovah will put his face on you and do peace to you.
So this is still the words that are used, and they actually sing it, and it's really great if the Kohen in your town is a really bad singer. It makes it way more fun.
That way you'll put my name on the sons of Yisrael, and I will bless them.
I can't wait for somebody to sing my version the next time we have a holiday where it's...
That's what's cracking me up, right? So, Reconstructionists represent, everyone sings it because we've sort of taken apart the caste system in Jewish ritual practice. So everyone sort of gets a chance, and it's often said by parents to children. And, sometimes you get really emotional and everyone's holding their talisim over each other, their prayer shawls, and we're all swaying and happy. But the version of doing peace to each other is just a whole different translation there.
Well, chapter 17, in which there is a fucking endless description of 12 men bringing the exact same tribute. Numbers 7:1 to 789. Yes, 89 verses. If you want to read fast in a few minutes, you can.
Wow, super fun. Here we go. Okay, it's sacred. It's the Torah. Everything's fine. On the day Moshe finished setting up the sanctuary and anointing it, making it, all its tools, the altar, and all its tools holy, the presidents of the tribes of Yisrael brought their sacrifices before Yehovah. Every pair of presidents brought 1 wagon and 2 oxen, making 6 massive wagons and 12 oxen. Take their stuff and use it for the work of the tent of witnessing. Yehovah said to Moshe, give it to the Levites to do whatever. Moshe took the carts and the oxen and gave them to the Levites. He gave the sons of Gershon 2 wagons and 4 oxen. He gave 4 wagons and 8 oxen to the sons of Merari for the work they do for Etzamar, the son of Aharon the Kohen. He didn't give
that's stuff from the beginning of the episode.
He didn't give anything to the sons of Kehat because they carried the holy work on their shoulders.
Like a bunch of losers.
On the day the altar dedication was anointed, the presidents brought their stuff and they put their sacrifices before the altar. 1 president will bring their sacrifices for the dedication of the altar per day, Yehovah said to Moshe. Nachshon, the son of Aminadab from the tribe of Yehuda, brought his sacrifice on the first day. He brought a silver bowl.
Here we go.
A silver bowl weighing 130 shekels, a silver basin worth 70 holy shekels. Both were full of fine flour mixed with oil for the meal offering. A golden pan with 10 shekels full of incense. A young bull, a ram, a year-old lamb for the olah, a male goat for the sin offering. For the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs.
Yeah, you're about to hear the exact same thing 11 more times.
On the second day, Netanel, son of Tzurar, the president of Yisachar, brought his sacrifice. He brought a silver bowl worth 130 shekels, a silver basin worth 70 shekels, both filled with fine flour mixed with oil for the meal offering, a gold pan worth 10 shekel filled with incense for the olah, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1-year-old ram, 1 male goat for the sin offering. For the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 ram, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs.
And a partridge in a... Okay.
Yeah, no, that's the joke.
Don't even...
On the third day, Eliab, the son of Chelion, president of the sons of Zebulun, brought his sacrifice. He brought a silver sink, worth 130 shekel, a silver basin worth 70 shekel, both filled with fine flour, mixed up with oil for the meal offering, a gold pan worth 10 shekel filled with incense for the olah, a young bull, 1 ram, a year-old lamb. For 1 he-goat for the sin offering, for the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs.
Real original, Eliav. Jeez.
On the 4th day, Elitzur, the son of Shteor, the president of Reuven, brought his sacrifice. He brought a silver bowl worth 130 shekels! A silver basin worth 70 shekels, both filled with fine flour mixed up with oil for the meal offering. A gold pan worth 10 shekels filled with incense for the olah. 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1-year-old lamb. A male goat for the sin offering. For the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 ram, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs. On the 5th day, Shlomiel, son of Tsuri Shaddai, you're killing me with this transliteration, the president of Shimon, brought as a sacrifice.
And you can read Hebrew.
1 silver bowl worth 130 shekels, 1 silver
basin.
basin.
It's only like $40.
$40 and $10. 1 silver bowl worth 130 shekel. 1 silver basin worth 70 shekel, both filled with fine flour mixed up with oil for the meal offering. 1 gold pan worth 10 shekels, filled with incense for the olah. 1 young bull, 1 ram, and 1-year-old lamb. For the he-goat, 1 he-goat for the sin offering. For the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 ram, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs. On the 6th day, Eliasaph, the son of Deuel, the president of Gad, brought his sacrifice. 1 silver sink worth 130 shekel, 1 silver basin worth 70 shekel, both filled with fine flour mixed up with oil for the meal offering, 1 gold pan worth 10 shekel filled with incense for the olah, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1-year-old lamb, 1 he-goat for the sin offering, and for the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs. Record a podcast about the Torah, he says. It'll be fun, he says.
I think this is the part that everybody falls asleep during.
Well, this is the part that you want to sign up to read, because once you learn the trope,
exactly.
then you're chanting, you're laning for, 30 minutes. Everyone's like, wow, she's such a scholar.
Mm-hmm. This is where you do it super fast, and they're like, wow, they're amazing.
That's right. On the seventh day, Elishama, the son of Amihud, the president of Ephraim, brought this stuff: a silver bowl worth 130 shekel, a silver basin worth 70 shekel, both filled with fine flour mixed up with oil for the meal offering, a gold pan worth 10 shekels filled with incense for the olah, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1-year-old lamb, a he-goat for the sin offering, for the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs. On the eighth day, Gamaliel, the son of Sador, president of Manasseh, brought his sacrifice. He brought a silver bowl worth 130 shekels, a silver basin worth 70 shekels, both filled with fine flour, mixed up with oil for the meal offering, a gold pan worth 10 shekels filled with incense, for the olah, a young bull, a ram, a year-old lamb, a he-goat for the sin offering, and for the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs.
Almost there. We can do it.
This is to make up for the really intense "we hate women" portion. It's just like, we're going to say a bunch of stuff and you're going to be calm. On the ninth day, Avidan, I'm assuming the son of Gidoni, the president of Binyamin. Yeah, you know that guy. Brought his sacrifice. He brought a silver bowl with 130
Everybody
shekels.
knows an Avidan.
A silver basin worth 70 holy shekels, both filled with fine flour, mixed up with oil for the meal offering. 1 gold pan worth 10 shekels filled with incense. For the olah, 1 young bull, 1 ram, a year-old lamb, 1 he-goat for the sin offering. And for the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs.
Really, Torah? You couldn't just be like, they all brought the same thing. This is what they bought. That you got to repeat this? Oh my God.
Right, that is actually a question. I feel like a Torah scholar has explained what meaning we can make from this, but
I've something about how like each one of them was important, and we don't want to denigrate each one of them, so we have to read them all, and they're all so great, and everybody is special. And
how do you feel about that, though?
Typing this all out, I hated that.
I do like that we started with Nachshon. Team Nachshon represent. Woohoo!
Mm-hmm.
On the 10th day,
always the first.
Achizar. Okay, but that doesn't say that. On the 10th day, Achiezer, the son of Ammishaddai, the president of Dan, brought his sacrifice. He brought a silver bowl worth 130 shekels, a silver basin worth 70 shekels, both filled with fine flour mixed with oil for the meal offering.
Why?
One gold pan filled with incense, and for the olah, 1 young bull, 1 ram, 1-year-old lamb for the olah, 1 he-goat for the sin offering, and for the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs. On the 11th day, Pagiel, the son of Achran, president of Asher, brought his sacrifice. He brought a silver bowl worth 130 shekels, a silver basin worth 70 shekels, both filled with fine flour, mixed up with oil for the meal offering, a gold pan worth 10 shekels filled with incense. For the olah...
incense.
Yeah, incense. I don't know if you heard that.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. For the olah, a young bull, a ram, a year-old lamb, a he-goat for the sin offering, for the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs.
One more.
Woo! Make it count. On the 12th day, Achira, the son of Enan, president of Naphtali, brought his sacrifice. He brought a silver bowl worth 130 shekel, a silver basin worth 70 shekel, both filled with fine flour mixed up with oil for the meal offering, 1 gold pan worth 10 shekels, filled with incense, 1 he-goat for the sin offering, for the peace offering, 2 oxen, 5 rams, 5 he-goats, 5-year-old lambs.
Whew. When I was getting this one ready to print out, I was like, oh my God, this one is really long. Oh, right.
Yeah,
Ooh.
that is right. Also, that's a lot of slaughter. Picture that.
Yeah.
There's
a
like
lot of smells.
A lot of fluffy animals are going to die that day.
Mm-hmm. Well, they did one every day, right?
That's smelly.
Yeah. About a week and a half filled with some horrible smells.
Some well-fed Kohanim.
Mm-hmm. Well, they probably give some to the Levies too, right?
Yeah.
They have their families, their kids.
Lady Kohens.
No,
we don't have those. That would be ridiculous. That would be ridiculous.
Women doing anything other than drinking gross water with ashes and words in it?
Yeah, that's right.
Come on.
Boys can be firefighters. Girls can drink weird adultery water. So. Should we finish this puppy? Let's do it.
Let's freaking do this.
I needed a break. I needed to sip some kombucha. That's what the president of Yisrael brought on altar dedication day. That was the dedication of the altar on the day it was anointed from the presidents of Yisrael. 12 silver bowls. I'm having flashbacks. 12 silver bowls, 12 basins, 12 gold pans. The silver bowls were all worth 130 shekels, and the silver basins worth 70. All the silver of the tools was worth 2,400 holy shekels. Each of the 12 gold pans were worth 10 shekels, totaling 120 shekels. All the cattle were 12 bulls, 12 rams, 12-year-old lambs, and their meal offerings, 14 he-goats for the sin offerings. All the animals for the peace offerings, 24 bulls, 60 rams, 60 he-goats, 60-year-old lambs. This was the dedication of the altar after it was anointed.
And that's how Judaism invented balance sheet accounting.
When Moshe came into the tent of witnessing to speak with him, he'd hear the voice coming from between the cherubs on the cover of the box of witnessing, and he'd speak to him.
That is chapter 17. That's episode 2. Thank you so much, Ariana.
I really had to work for it there. You know?
You did. That last one, it really just creeps up on you out of nowhere and just goes on forever. Thank you. Now is the time of the show where we have our Devar Torah, which literally means Torah word. And I was wondering if you could sum up everything that we've talked about into a single word.
This is harder than it. This is harder than it sounds. Because when I listen to the show, I'll shout my word at the radio because I'm a Torah nerd.
Now you're on the spot.
Now I'm on the spot. There isn't even a live audience. It's just the dog. No. What's my Torah word about this parsha? I think I'm going to go with yucky from our previous conversation because I'm curious about it. So from where I sit as a contemporary radical queer feminist reading this parsha, I'm like, okay, yucky from my perspective is explicit about what we say about human bodies and also purity and also sex and also ownership. But I'm also continuing to be interested in what your translation's doing and what it's saying about who's clean and unclean, based on who we think wrote the thing.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that I try to keep in mind, or I'm trying to hope people keep in mind, that it's not that this translation isn't really my perspective on it. It's my perspective on what the people who originally wrote these words, and I'm trying to represent what their worldview was, which is why the first line, instead of God created the heavens and the earth, it's God created the sky and the ground, because it's very, very elemental, earthy, very present perspective on just what the world around them looks like. And even ideas of God, I've stopped using the word God in this translation because I don't necessarily think that they really thought of that concept. It was more just there was this deity called Jehovah who told them to do things and who did things for them.
And I think it holds up. I think the scholarship supports that.
Yeah.
I'm also, I hope, I mean, I'm curious. What were you saying that was pinging off of that? I was curious about this earlier question we had about what is the sota, the accused woman. What is that ritual doing in the context of this parsha? And the parshiot are completely arbitrarily defined.
Yes.
Right after the Torah was created, it was just one long story, and then the Masoretes came and chopped it up, and here we go.
Right.
But I'm curious what meaning can be made of the fact that this is what got chopped up.
That's a very, very, very good question. I think my Torah word was abstinence, because the two things that are actual rules here tend to be about abstinence. It's not just the sota. It's also the thing beforehand is what sacrifices you bring if you make a mistake. So it's about refraining from making a mistake. And then it's about the Nazir and his thing. It's a really good question. It's it's very odd that it's here to me. And it's also very odd that it's not in the previous book, that it's not in Leviticus, which is all about the most. There's so much of it about purity laws and holiness and yuckiness laws. It's really out of place. It's almost like God forgot about it, but I'm not sure. I don't know what it's doing here. It's odd because first we're just talking about what the different Levi families are going to do. Then we have a digression about these 3 concepts of sacrifices, and then we go back to the dedication. You know what it could be? It's almost like right before the dedication, God is finishing up. I don't know. It's very weird. I have trouble with it. I don't know if you have any thoughts.
I want to also just give a shout out to what was done with this in the past. I think we railed on it pretty hard because it's terrible garbage, / our sacred and blessed Torah that we are lucky and blessed to have in our lives, both and. But at the end of the at the end of the Second Temple period, they abolished this as a ritual that was an option.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is credited with saying that this isn't an option anymore because everyone is fornicating and cheating on each other all over the place, that it's not a ritual we can sustain anymore, or that, like, is relevant to what people are behaving as. So, like, there are a lot of rules and law now that make this prohibitive.
Yeah.
Like, we got to shout out Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai.
Well, that's interesting, yeah, because I was looking at some commentaries too, and it was like it says there are no witnesses, and like if anybody saw any of the things, like it's one of those things where they add all these extra rules to it to make it so that it's impossible and it never actually happens.
Right.
Kind of like that rebellious child rule.
Right, that's right, to kind of protect us from ourselves. But I'm still like, what the hell are we doing with this in our Torah? And why do we keep talking about it?
I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you about that. I'm sorry that I don't.
Well, this part is just a shout out to all the straight edge boyfriends you ever had, you know?
Exactly.
Thanks,
all those
Nazir.
long-haired, bearded guys who refuse to eat raisins.
Yeah, well, you know what? Read the Torah. Things will go better for you.
Exactly. Do you have any other final thoughts about this to sum it up?
Oh, gosh. That you'll, like, for this moment or to edit into? Who knows?
Yeah.
What are closing thoughts? Read the Torah even when you disagree with it, because when you disagree with it, that is also meaningful. Like you, David Tuchman, who claim to not be religious, but here you are, translating the whole Torah from scratch. I see you, we see you, this is a call out.
I suppose there's something religious about doing that, I guess. I don't really have anything. It's such a wild one. It really does feel like I was saying before, like kind of last minute rules before, like they're about to anoint it, so they need to know what they can do. The Nazir is a really weird one, and that always like was something that stuck out to me as a kid. As like, maybe when I'm an adult, I'll do that.
Yeah, I also had that experience of it.
Like I'll grow out my hair and not drink.
Yeah.
And bring some,
Have you?
then shave my head. No, I mean I've had periods of abstinence in my life, but not at the same time as not shaving.
Yeah, no Nazirite vows for you.
No, and I still had grapes.
Uh-huh.
That I think is the hard part.
Yeah.
No vinegar.
Right, no vinegar, no fermented things. I mean, I definitely also remember being really moved by it, and I think it's like when you do anything and dedicate it. Right, you're saying I'm doing this Lashem for the sake of something. It's not that I'm just, taking on a practice for my health. I'm dedicating it with intention for whatever reason.
So I guess that's interesting, and maybe something that does tie these things together, because it's like different forms of dedication, right? Like the Nazis or the presidents bring all those animals that they're dedicated, and like that gold and silver that they're dedicating to the temple or the tent of witnessing. The Nazir dedicates like parts of his body to God, and then like the Sota practice is almost like a dedication of this like breaking of vows, but in a somewhat holy way. Like there's a holy, so to speak, ritual assigned with that. Something.
Yeah, and that like the temple and temple sacrifice is a necessary part of all these different moments of your life. These like random things you might never experience. Like even then, you should still use the temple because look at how useful it could be. Right.
Like even when you're like, stepping out on your man, like you're still going to the temple and taking part in rituals afterwards.
I don't know if she's going to the temple. I think she's being dragged to the temple. Let's not romanticize it.
Good point.
But yes, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So I think we're going to wrap up. Is there anything that you want to plug or anything that you want people to check out on the internet? You want them to download your podcast?
Yeah, great. You can listen to back episodes of Kaddish at kaddishpodcast.com or on iTunes. Sorry, people who use Stitcher. And if you're in Baltimore and want to come check out the Shtiebel and get involved with us, you can find us on Facebook, Hininu, the Baltimore Justice Shtiebel. And you can check out all my other stuff at arianakatz.com.
Love it. As always, you can find the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, all sorts of podcast apps. I think it's on Google now, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a website that needs to be updated more often. Please rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps. A good way to share the podcast is to just send a link in an email to somebody else and then code the link so that it looks like it's a link to a video of that Rick Astley song, Never Gonna Give You Up, and then they open and it's actually, oh my God, what the fuck Bible? And then they listen to it and get hooked. Please make sure to listen in just another week, because next time in the Bible,
Jehovah will give you meat and you will eat it.
oh boy.